on the roof in San Pedro.
It is the most powerful rooftop solar project in the entire world.
Los Angeles now leads the country with the most installed solar power of any city in America. We lost the crown for a moment to San Diego. This takes it back, so take that.
Climate-friendly Mayor Eric Garcetti excited over the new Westmont solar rooftop project. We're atop Westmont Distribution Center in San Pedro, near the 110 freeway, home to 2 million square feet of rooftop solar panels. Panels collecting not just direct sunlight, but also reflective sunlight bouncing off the roof. 16.5 megawatts worth. That's a lot.
This project provides enough power for 5,000 single-family households.
LADWP General Manager David Wright says Westmont is participating in the DWP's Feed-In Tariff program. That's when property owners sell energy collected on the roofs back to the utility.
It's our goal to continue to convert unused rooftops into providing solar energy and create the incentives that we can to encourage developers to build more solar projects.
And why not? We live in Southern California where it's sunny most days of the year. Might as well take advantage to create energy, and clean energy at that. The project was completed by Perma-City Solar, creating hundreds of jobs.
We did this together. It's not about Perma-City. It's not about any one person. We all did this together. This is Los Angeles.
In San Pedro, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Perma-City estimates the carbon emission savings is equivalent to taking 6,000 cars off the street. And by the way, the world's largest rooftop solar project is Apple headquarters in Cupertino. Ours may be the second biggest, but it's also the most powerful. Van Nuys residents and city leaders are breaking ground on a brand new fire station in the neighborhood. Ana Marcos shows us why Fire Station 39 drew both yay and naysayers, but the yays prevailed.
It's been years in the making, but Van Nuys is finally getting its new Fire Station 39. The current station, the oldest in LA, is a holdover from the Roosevelt era.
We will no longer have to back into the apparatus bays. We'll have a drive-through configuration, which is safer for our firefighters, so they don't have to deal with traffic. It's faster to get out the front doors.
It's going to be a very sustainable building. We're going to be using recycled materials. We're going to have all this natural light. We're going to have stormwater capture, saving lots of water and lots of energy.
But all these modern-day goodies come at a modern-day price. The old fire station was built in 1939 to the tune of $66,000. But this modern-day miracle will cost more like $30 million.
I am just thrilled to death.
Some residents fought hard for the station while others fought against it. Many, it seems, don't want firefighters, at least not in their neighborhood.
They didn't want to have sirens and noise. We had so much stuff thrown in our way to stop this from growing and getting built here. It got verbal, it got physical.
We literally got followed out of meetings. We were threatened with, you're going to get in trouble for this, you just wait and see. And they threw things at us. They tried to stop us on the sidewalk.
But fire station supporters prevailed, and now they're cheering on the start of construction.
The fire department is here to help you. When they dial 911, how lucky are they to be able to literally call 911 and the fire station or the paramedics are right across the street from you?
As for the fire chief's take,
it always helps when we invite them to the station for a meal. Or provide dessert like a pie or a cake. And we intend to be good neighbors.
And come 2019, when the station is built, we reckon these good neighbors will be sending out lots of invitations for pie and cake. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
Station 39 will be the 22nd and final station built in LA with Prop F funds, a bond measure passed by voters in 2000. Well, this program aims to stop the cycle of poverty, abuse, and lack of opportunity in the inner city with a scholarship. Oh, but there's so much more, as Ana Marcos takes to the El Nido Family Center Scholarship Awards.
College seems like a distant dream when you're 16 and pregnant. But thanks to El Nido Family Centers, Wendy Isidoro worked to make that dream come true. Over the last 4 years, The program has helped her with family issues, taught her how to care for her son Aiden, and gotten her on track in school. And now, thanks to an El Nido scholarship, she's in college.
I just feel like without Nido, I wouldn't be able to do much. It helped a lot.
It helped you to know you were a good mom and helped you to do better with your son?
Yes. I thought I was a failure. I thought I was just a failure.
Isidoro is no failure now. She's studying to be a forensics expert. Today, this El Nido scholarship event honors the 44 students receiving scholarships. Many are or have been pregnant teen girls, but young fathers and boys at risk are also part of the program.
I mean, it changed my life dramatically. I'll be the first in my immediate family, my mom, my dad, to go to college. I'm the first to graduate, so it's...
High school graduate?
Yeah.
So far, El Nido has given close to 500 students a shot at a college education, as well as a brighter future, stronger communities, stronger families, and a stronger career.
Our mission is to work with vulnerable youth and families. Our work is all around strengthening families and breaking the cycle of abuse and neglect. One person in the family goes to college, all of a sudden there's, role modeling, there's hope, there's opportunity, and that is transformative.
Oh, and these scholarship recipients have to give back as well. Xiomara Pena now mentors kids in the program, but at one point she was a pregnant teen herself. She went into seizures and a coma during delivery.
But you almost died.
Yes, and almost dying. That made me realize there's a larger purpose in life for me.
I was a young father myself. I was a young father at age 15. I got a lot of support, a lot of mentorship, and I want to give back. I want to do the same thing.
Okay, recipients, now it's your turn to give back and make the world a better place. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
For more information, visit elnidofamilycenters.org. Well, did you know that Van Nuys once housed a massive theme park that doubled as a brewery? Well, Gil Reyes goes retro with some mementos from the San Fernando Valley's past.
The hub of city government in Chatsworth is awash with pop culture tonight. San Fernando Valley pop culture.
We actually don't have a district office. We have a community service center, and what we've done here with that is we open up this office for city staff to come out here so people don't have to drive all the way downtown. And we also have special events. Tonight we're having the Valley Relics Museum here, and we have art exhibits.
Area Council member Mitchell Englander talks about Chatsworth's Valley Relics Museum. It's lending several of its vintage artworks, photographs, postcards, and documents to this government office. Anyone remember Busch Gardens in Van Nuys? It's now a full-time brewery off the 405 freeway. But between the mid-'60s and late '70s, Busch Gardens was a theme park rivaling Disneyland, with water rides, a bird sanctuary, and yes, free beer with the price of admission. Also on display, BMX bikes from the 1970s. Makers like Redline, Mongoose, and Gary Littlejohn were the Valley's big three BMX makers.
A lot of people aren't really aware of how much history is here in the Valley. So this is our way of shining a spotlight on our community, on the Valley's history from the 1800s to the 1980s.
Owner Tommy Gelinas opened the museum 4 years ago to honor the past. Honored tonight, the councilman's chief of staff, John Lee, who is stepping down after years serving the Valley. Lee helped secure money to build the Greg Smith LAPD Devonshire Youth Center and other buildings. While those facilities still stand, you can check out artifacts from a bygone era at the Valley Relics Museum. It's open on Saturdays. In Chatsworth, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The Valley Relics Museum is located at 21630 Maria Street in Chatsworth and is open on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Over at Echo Park Lake, the Lotus flower was the star of the show as it made its yearly appearance. Hundreds of folks came out to see the flower in bloom and to experience a new Asian culture. Rasha Goel has more.
Echo Park's famous lotus flowers bloomed just in time to provide a beautiful backdrop for this year's 37th annual Lotus Festival. The two-day celebration honors Asian cultures with food, art, and music, giving something for everyone in the family to enjoy.
We can have a better understanding of different diverse groups that compose our city.
This year's featured country was Bangladesh.
I think this type of festival encourages the people to love each other.
We just like to bring in the Asian culture here to the Angelinos.
The Lotus Festival went dormant in 2011 as Echo Park closed for a 2-year renovation project where the lake was drained and restored and the lotus beds were replaced.
The renovations and refurbishment has been incredible, and it's just brought people from all over LA to the lake, which has been great. And the festival is just, kind of the cherry on top.
The event attracts well over 20,000 people throughout the weekend for sure.
Multicultural attractions such as this festival have become part of an LA tradition spanning nearly 4 decades. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Law enforcement officials warn LA residents about a phone kidnapping scheme targeting the Southland. LA goes for the gold as host of the 2028 Summer Olympics, and city officials hope offering more money through a rebate program will encourage LA residents to fix city sidewalks. All these stories in City Beat. Law enforcement officials are warning the public about a spree of virtual kidnapping schemes that have scared people into paying thousands of dollars in ransom money, even though their loved ones were never in danger. The FBI and the Los Angeles Police Department say they've seen an increase in the crimes over the last 2 years, which involves suspects calling people and telling them they are holding a family member hostage. Over the last 2 years, police reported more than 200 incidents in LA, with victims paying out more than $114,000 in ransom money. A Texas woman has been arrested and is facing multiple charges in connection with the ransom scheme. Officials say there is something you can do.
Contact your loved one in question immediately should you get a call like this and confirm that they are okay. And then contact the FBI or law enforcement.
Los Angeles has struck a tentative deal with the International Olympic Committee to host the 2028 Summer Olympics. Los Angeles originally bid to host the 2024 Summer Games, competing with Paris, but the IOC recently approved a plan to name a host of both the 2024 and 2028 Games simultaneously. The plan must still be approved by the LA City Council and the U.S. Olympic Committee Board. Under the terms of the contract, the IOC would advance $180 million to a Los Angeles organizing committee due to the longer planning period and to fund youth sports in the years leading up to the Games.
Hundreds of millions of dollars more that allows us to be able to put back into programs starting as early as next year, access to sports for every kid in every zip code here in Los Angeles. That's something worth fighting for.
As part of an effort to repair all of the city's sidewalks over the next 30 years, Los Angeles officials have increased the amount property owners can receive through a rebate program. The rebate cap was originally $2,000 for homeowners and $4,000 for commercial property owners, but that has been raised to $10,000 for everyone to encourage more participation. The rebate program is part of Safe Sidewalks LA, a program approved by the City Council last year to spend at least $30 million a year over the next 3 decades to fix about 11,000 miles of sidewalks throughout the city. Property owners must apply with the city to participate in the program, then pay for their own repairs. For more, visit sidewalks.lacity.org. If you or your kids love those giant elephant ears, well, you've got one more pair to look at as the LA Zoo welcomes a new elephant into its herd. Anna Marcos takes a look as Shanzi settles in.
Shanzi, the LA Zoo's newest elephant, loves to eat, and she's having a heck of a good time shaking down the hay nest in her new zoo habitat and making it rain hay. Some of her spectators, though, don't enjoy the dust and hay so much. Even the zookeepers have a healthy respect for her. They're keeping their distance as they get to know her better.
We don't go directly in with our elephants. We are protected contact, which means there's always a barrier between us and our elephants. That doesn't mean that we can't do all the things that they need to have done to them for their care. They know us by voice, by smell, by sight, and we can ask them to do pretty much anything. Show us their feet, their ears, open their mouths so we can check their teeth. They're on that side of the fence. We're on this side. They're very intelligent.
Shanzi, who's a very elderly 46 years old, came from the Fresno Zoo after her longtime partner died. She joins 3 other elephants at the LA Zoo, a male and 2 females. So far, she's only been able to smell and hear them and see them from far off.
You know, they are a social animal in the wild. They would run in herds. They'll first let them kind of interact through the fence, and, they can touch, they can smell, and they'll start to get kind of an idea of how they're going to interact with each other. Are they showing aggression towards each other? Do they really enjoy being together?
Shanzi has plenty yet to discover once her quarantine is up, like the deep wading pools, sandy hills, bamboo trees, and of course, the other elephants.
To her, this is all new. She found grass and thought that was the greatest thing that was ever created.
Less than a month in, for Shanzi it seems, this place is already starting to feel like home. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Elephants normally live to be about 45 years old, so Shanzi at 46 is quite elderly indeed. Sounds like she's off to a happy retirement. Well, enjoy a drive-in movie in the San Fernando Valley, get into the groove with some of your favorite hits from the 70s, or head on over to the Love Shack for some vintage rock and roll. All this in this week's Things to Do. Bring your car and join other movie fans under the stars for a screening of movies filmed in the Valley. Featuring La Bamba in a retro drive-in setting, each evening begins with a pre-show performance, special guests, and costume contests. The event will be benefiting Valley Relics Museum. A variety of food trucks will be available. The screening of La Bamba takes place Saturday, August 12th at 8:30 p.m. at the Lake Balboa Complex. For more, visit myvalleypass.com. Enjoy your favorite sounds from the 70s during a free concert on the Green. Stayin' Alive offers the songs and sights of a full Bee Gees playlist, singing blockbusters such as Night Fever, Jive Talkin', How Deep Is Your Love, You Should Be Dancing, Nights on Broadway, and Staying Alive. So come on out on Sunday, August 13th to the Warner Center Park in Woodland Hills. For more, visit valleycultural.org. Come see the B-52s in concert for free. The group will be bringing their Cosmic Funplex to downtown LA with a night full of dancing and fun. So grab your friends and family and come out for a night of music and maybe even some dancing. The show takes place on Saturday, August 12th at Pershing Square starting at 8 p.m. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Remember, pets need to prepare for disasters too. Put together an emergency kit with water, a water bowl, food, and any medications they may need. Get the message. Be prepared. Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm in Little Tokyo, and you're watching Channel 35, Your City, Your Channel.
Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. It's Wednesday, August 9th. Welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezar, Koretz, Krikoria, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 11 members present in a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Cedillo moves. Mr. Harris Dawson seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Okay, Ms. Martinez moves and Mr. Bonin seconds. Please continue.
Mr. President, there are requests to continue item 7 to August 16, 2017, and to refer item 31 to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Continue.
Items 1 through 6 are items noticed for public hearing, and Mr. President, there are cards on all 6.
Okay, continue.
Items 7 through 20 are items for which public hearings have been held. Mr. President, committee report for item 20 has been submitted, posted, and circulated for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you. All right. Specials members, let's prepare to vote on these items. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue. Yes, Mr. O'Farrell.
Item 10 forthwith, please.
Item 10 forthwith. Continue.
Items 21 through 34 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body.
Mr. President, there are cards on 28, 29, 30, 32, 33, and 34, sir.
Okay, well, let's hold those items. I think there's one in there that we can vote for. So let's vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue.
Mr. President, items 35 through 39 are items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk, sir?
Okay, it's my understanding from the Budget and Finance Committee that we can deal with these items in open session. So you'd want to read, Madam Clerk, the items, and then we'll call for the vote.
Yes, sir. Item 35 in the case entitled Magdalena De Santo et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $140,000 in settlement. Item 36 in the case entitled Mahendra Amin versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $157,884 in settlement. Item number 37, in the case entitled William Mears et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to reject the plaintiff's offer of settlement. Item 38, in the case entitled Maria Teresa Abrego et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $990,464 in settlement. And finally, in the case for item 39, in the case entitled Bulwer Drive LLC versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $1.7 million in settlement, sir.
Okay, members, let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue.
On the continuation agenda, item 41 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, that item is now before us.
Mr. President, there's a card on those.
Let's hold that item and continue.
That would bring council to either the special meeting, items called special, or presentation, sir.
Okay, I think what we'll do, we'll hold off on the special. We'll go into the presentation portion of today's agenda, and I'd like to recognize Ms. Nuri Martinez. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning.
In fact, Ms. Martinez, let's wait just a second. Let's let things clear out. It'd be a little more quiet.
I know. But that's been done to me too. Shit.
Seems like our council chambers just emptied out.
Well,
At least half of it.
that's because they saw Bob win. No, that's my dear friend. Anyway, and now it's quiet. I know this is a very, very important presentation. Ms. Martinez, the floor belongs to you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. During the month of August, we celebrate and honor the impact of health center organizations throughout our nation. This is an important time to highlight the many dedicated organizations that work tirelessly to serve the health needs of some of the most vulnerable residents. And today, I am very, very proud to recognize El Proyecto del Barrio. This organization has had a lasting impact in my district and continues to thrive throughout the city of Los Angeles. From their humble beginnings as a street corner substance abuse prevention organization to now having expanded its services in the entire San Fernando Valley. For the past 45 years, El Proyecto has worked to provide access to affordable health and human services to residents of my district. This organization has grown immensely throughout the years. They now run 7 medical facilities, 2 of which are located in Council District 6, in Arleta and Panorama City. They offer an array of services from health screenings, HIV testing, OBGYN care, and mammogram screening. They conduct over 160,000 office visits with patients each year. El Proyecto has gone above and beyond the role of a health center. They also run a work source and youth source program to offer employment services and help hundreds of youth and adults, job seekers, find new positions throughout the city of Los Angeles. One is located down the street from my Sun Valley District office. El Proyecto even runs 2 high-quality child care development centers at no cost for children ages between 3 and 4 years old. They have been an amazing organization throughout the valley. Not only do they help Angelinos live a sustainable life, they do it by using culturally appropriate strategies with an affirmation of family values and traditions. Over the years, El Proyecto has grown into one of the premier nonprofit health and human services agencies in Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley. In a time where the future of our nation's healthcare system is unsure, El Proyecto del Barrio continues to outreach and promote wellness throughout the San Fernando Valley. They have established themselves as a trusted service provider, and I am confident in their ability to serve my residents. Before I introduce the CEO and my good friend Corinne Sanchez, one of the things I tell Corinne all the time is when I was a youngster growing up in Pacoima, I learned how to drive dirt bikes due to El Proyecto. Due to El Proyecto. I don't know if you remember, El Proyecto used to be a small little 2-story building on Van Nuys Boulevard across the street from the Jack in the Box. And they used to have a dirt road right next to the building where they used to have about a half a dozen dirt bikes, which is where I learned how to drive a dirt bike. But it was way too dirty for me. It was too much dirt in my hair. So I decided to instead dance for El Proyecto, which I did for a really long time as well. And at the time, I grew up really poor. My parents didn't have the means to put me in in any after-school activities or extracurricular activities in the area. There really wasn't a whole lot, but El Proyecto was able to deliver services for young people like myself growing up in the area, and for parents like mine who just didn't have the ability to drive somewhere fancy to drop off their kids after school. El Proyecto served that need for my family and countless others in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. So I think it kept us out of trouble. My mom found you, and I was very, very proud to be one of the recipients of El Proyecto. And it also allowed me the opportunity to go to my very first concert as a youngster, and it was Michael Jackson at Dodger Stadium. And El Proyecto had gotten a bunch of tickets and put us all in a bus, and we all went to the Michael Jackson concert. I mean, come on, fellas, some of you guys, we were all there. We were all there. And if it wasn't for El Proyecto, I seriously don't know. You've saved countless of lives of young people who otherwise didn't have the ability to go to some fancy after-school program. They were doing the work way before anyone else, and I'm very proud to have been one of those folks. So I am very proud to introduce my good friend Corinne Sanchez to say a few words on behalf of El Proyecto. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noreen. That's really great.
Corinne, before you start, I have a couple of members that would like to say a few things. So if I could get organizations like yours change lives. When you grow up and life is tough and money is tight, your parents work their guts out. They look for places that their children can get receive positive messages and work with positive role models. I'm sure that most of us seated around this horseshoe could reflect back to an experience where somebody like you did something that altered our life in a very positive way. And I love all of the members on this council, but everybody knows there's nobody I love more than Miss Martinez. So for the work, so that you training her how to ride a dirt bike, taking her to see Michael Jackson, inspiring her to be a public servant herself, and affording me the opportunity to serve with her. I just have to thank you so very much. So I'd like to recognize Mr. Englander at this time.
Well, Mr. President, I think you just said it. There isn't an organization out there that we can't do this alone. And you set the bar high with what you're doing. And I want to thank you for opening the most recent facility in Northridge in my district and working with over 15,000 people. To Corrine, to Mary, Bob, Magdalena, thank you so much. Ms. Martinez, if you could put a word in. They took you to Dodger Stadium. Tom Petty's coming out to Hollywood Bowl. I don't have tickets. No.
So is Janet Jackson.
We look at a lot of the crises that we're dealing with each and every day, and I constantly tell people because they're frustrated that more and more people today in our communities need help, and everyone expects us to fix it all, and that their taxpayer dollars should resolve all these issues. We can't do it alone. It takes that public-private partnership, that collaboration, that working with people of passion to make a difference. And the partnership that you have created and maintained and expanded, and is much more needed now today than ever, is so welcomed. And I thank you so much, because I was one of those youth that needed the help as well. And I too wouldn't be here if it not just for organizations, for people like you that dedicate their lives to helping others. Thank you very, very much for being here today, and continue the great work that you've always done. Thank you so much.
Well said, Mr. Englander. Well said. And then for Bob Wynn is here. I mean, there are special people in every parts of the city, and Bob is definitely a jewel for all of us. I know I've had the opportunity to work with him for the past 10, I've known him before then, but for the past 10 months. And I don't know how you find the time to do everything that you do. But usually if there's something positive going on, somehow, some way, Bob's engaged. So let's give them another round of applause. Come on, give them another round of applause. And I'd like to recognize my next favorite member of this council, Monica Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilwoman Martinez, thank you so much for bringing in this terrific organization that I know many of us really depend on in our community to help ensure that we provide the kind of needed services for communities that typically go underserved. You have been that guiding light in the Northeast Valley for a lot of our residents. You've been, you know, the folks that have helped elevate a lot of individuals that didn't have the means or resources, you know, situations of circumstance. And so I want to thank you for your long history in our community service to the entire Northeast San Fernando Valley and the North Valley, because all of our families need help, particularly now given the circumstances of what we are facing at the national level. Your role as partners with us on the City Council is even more important now more than ever. So thank you for your continued service to our community. I really greatly appreciate you. Good to see, I mean, long-standing friends as well. So thank you so much for bringing them in and honoring their work and their legacy. So congratulations, guys.
Okay, the floor is yours.
I thought Gil was going to say something, but
Gilbert, no. Yeah, wait a minute. I didn't see. Now, I want to apologize for not seeing Mr. Cedillo's name on the queue. I do see it now.
This is amazing, right? Just have a speech ready. I actually tried to recruit you, as you recall, to the assembly. You had this run for the council that I didn't quite understand and didn't quite appreciate. And I actually supported a young man who's now Secretary of State. But when I got to know you, your leadership is really what is the most significant. Your intellectual understanding of health policy, healthcare delivery systems, the role they play in the state of California. Once I got to know you, I became very enamored with the entire package that you could bring to the legislature. And you should be a legislator. I could see you in the Senate running Health Committee, because it's those policies that are critical. And today we're in this struggle. Every day it's fascinating to see the various assaults of the Trump administration on this nation, whether it's in education, an effort to completely privatize education, whether it's in immigration, an effort to unravel our critical relations with other nations, or if it's in healthcare, where they've taken actions, some illegal, to deny people health care just so that they could maximize profit for themselves and their cronies. I hate to use this rhetoric and sound like a college student, but the fact of the matter is that is the case. And without your leadership, without the services you provide, as you've heard from many of my colleagues, so many young people would not get the health care that they need. I was just telling my colleague here how clinics like yours provide services that we take for granted. But there are young boys and girls in the Valley who need a physical so that they can play Pop Warner or Little League or be cheerleading. And without you, that doesn't happen. And if that doesn't happen, they don't participate, and we don't have a Nuri Martinez, right? And I think it's very critical for people to understand. We take these things for granted, but in our lives, the services you provide are absolutely vital to the future of this city and this nation. So thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, would you like to call out somebody else? The floor is yours.
Okay, I first want to thank this honorable council for recognizing El Proyecto del Barrio. I'd like to also recognize and thank my colleagues, Bob Wynn, who's our vice chair of our board, Mary Hernandez, our chief operating officer, Magdalena Duran, our head of Workforce Center Services, for joining me today. As stated earlier, we've been here 46 years. I've been here several times when Bernardi and many of the council assistants that are still here pleading our case in the past. I come from the civil rights movement. I come from the Chicano service movement. I come from Mecha. I come from activism, and I carry that passion every day with me in terms of serving our community. And I love what Mr. Englander referenced in terms of partnership. We work with you to serve your constituents, to serve our community. And that's what we're dedicated to. As you know, there's many battles that we fight on a daily basis, as you also fight. But be assured that we are out there to work to serve our community. One thing is we have expanded to East LA in providing preschool and partnering with Supervisor Hilda Solis, and we are in the San Gabriel Valley delivering healthcare services as well. We battle the ACA repeal. We battle daily, making sure our community is getting the needed and wanted services. So we've marched down City Hall to contest the repeal, and we will continue to fight in that manner. I was lucky enough to come to El Proyecto in 1978, going to law school at San Fernando School of Law. I'm very pleased to say I did pass the bar, and I am a practicing attorney as well. I fight on a legal basis for our community. I fight on a social basis. I fight on a social service basis, and I can't say how proud I am that we are survivors. As cancer survivors and others, El Proyecto is a survivor, and we continue to expand and fight to give quality, meaningful care to our community. So with that, I will close and let Bob say a few words.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Bob.
Good to see you as well, Mr. President. To Nuri, whom I've known for quite a few years, and she is such a dedicated, hardworking community person, and to be in the position that she's in now, really doing a due diligent service to our community. And to Monica Rodriguez, we currently just serving. We thank you for all of the services that you provided, even on the Board of Public Works. We thank you. I would just like to make it short, and to Mr. Englander, thank you so much for your support and your endeavors. I would just like to say, Mr. President, thank you so much for all that you did for the 7th District in the absence of a council person. Thank you so very much for that. I would just like to close with this. There's an old African proverb that say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that's why you see the diversity with El Proyecto and all of the other community members going far, because we go together. Thank you very much.
Well said. Well said, Bob.
Colleagues, it is an honor on behalf of the City of Los Angeles to thank El Proyecto del Barrio for their dedicated service to our residents in Los Angeles. Thank you very much. And we look forward to continuing our partnership together. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Again, congratulations to all of you. All right, we're going to move to item 6. So we have staff that's here. If I could call the staff up to the center table. And members, item 6 requests that the City Council to adopt an ordinance approving resolutions of necessity to authorize the commitments of eminent domain proceedings on 37 properties in the Manchester Square area. So the way we're going to start today is we will hear an oral presentation from the staff led by Debbie Bowers. From there, members of the council may ask Ms. Bowers questions of you. And then we'll listen to representatives from the community and the property owners. And there may be some follow-up questions. We'll try to do this by the book, by the letter. But I think the way to begin is to start off with you walking us through this. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. This item is a hearing to determine whether the council wishes to adopt an ordinance approving a resolution of necessity to authorize commencement of eminent domain proceedings to acquire 37 properties located in the Manchester Square area of Los Angeles. This ordinance does not address in any way the compensation to be paid for the taking of the property, nor does the adoption of the ordinance prevent the parties from continuing to negotiate. It is always possible that a settlement could be reached without a trial or significant litigation on these acquisitions, and that is always our hope. But in this case, for the reasons explained in the staff report and the presentation, we are asking that the council approve the ordinance so that staff can move forward with the next legal step in the condemnation process, which is the authorization to bring an eminent domain action to condemn the property. At the close of this hearing, you will be asked to make a few key findings as described in the CAO report and the proposed ordinance. Adopting this ordinance requires an affirmative 2/3 vote of the council. The council file and the presentation you're about to hear will give you the facts necessary to support these findings. The presentation, council file, and all its reference documents will become part of the record of these proceedings. If there are any additional exhibits or other information presented to the council this morning, they will also be added to the record. If you have any questions about the facts, do not hesitate to ask me. If you have legal questions about the findings, please ask legal counsel. The first two findings, the public interest or necessity requiring the project, and the project being planned or located for the greatest public good and the least private injury, are applicable to the entire project and not necessarily to the use of eminent domain for just the acquisitions of the properties located in Manchester Square. The remaining findings apply to the parcels at issue. The project requiring acquisition of these properties is the FAA-approved airport noise mitigation plan, which requires LAWA to manage the impacts of aircraft noise, including acquiring incompatible properties to change the allowable use to one that is compatible with these noise levels. Under the airport noise mitigation plan, property acquisitions under eminent domain are only pursued as a last resort after voluntary acquisition measures have been pursued in regard to the incompatible properties. The residential properties are located within the Manchester Square area and are in incompatible use under the airport noise mitigation plan. Offers and accompanying appraisal summaries have previously been made to the property owners, and despite efforts to negotiate, no agreement for the sales could be reached. A notice of the hearing was both emailed and sent by first class and priority mail, a signature is not required, to the property owners on May 25th, 2017. This concludes my presentation. I'd like to take the opportunity to remind the council members that the adoption requires an affirmative 2/3 vote of the council.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bowers. At this time, I want to open it up to members of this council for questions. I want to recognize Mr. Mike Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. No ranking in your list of favorites as I stand?
You're right up. All the guys are right there.
All right, that was lukewarm, but I'll continue.
But I love you still.
Colleagues, I just wanted to provide a little context to the presentation that Ms. Bowers just gave. For those of you who aren't familiar with this neighborhood in East Westchester near the 405, you have heard about what LAWA is planning here for a very long time. You have heard for the past at least 4 years since I joined the council about the LAMP project, the Land Access Modernization project that is transforming access to and from our airport. There are many, many projects that include the People Mover, the rail connection to the airport, and one of the main features of that is the consolidated rental car center, which will provide a central location for all of the rental car companies, will have a dramatic impact upon traffic congestion in the central terminal area. Manchester Square is where the consolidated rental car center will go, and it's right across the street from where the Metro rail line, the Crenshaw and the Green Line, will connect with the People Mover to get people to and from the terminals in the airport. This property has been gradually acquired by the airport for decades now. I was working as a staffer for Ruth Galanter when the airport started a voluntary acquisition program, when residents and property owners there came to the airport and said, could you please buy us out? The fact that we are down now after 18 years, I guess, to 9 properties really that are still in play is actually a testament to the airport. There's still a couple folks that need to be negotiated with, and I'm confident LAWA can do that. But this is an important step for the airport to get us to the modernization that we've been seeking, and I think the airport has done a great job over the past couple decades, and particularly the past couple years, outreaching to the folks who remain, and I'm confident for those who still haven't reached resolution with the airport that you will work hard, you will work earnestly, you will work fairly with them, and that you'll strike an agreement with them as well. So I just wanted to provide that context and ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bonnet. Sergeants, if I could get one of the sergeants to open up the center aisle. I'd like to now ask any of the property owners or their representatives from the region, any property owners. I believe there's a Mr. Parrish. I do believe we have a Mr. Parrish or his representative. Please come forward. Take your time. In fact, Mr. Parrish, let's just bring him a handheld mic. Yes. Just see if he wants to stay. He doesn't have to come up. He can stay where he wants. He can stay right there.
No, that's okay. I want to come up here. I came all this way to make the effort to come here.
Yeah, you're welcome to sit right here, sir. We have a mic for you. Here,
okay. I want a little time here. Don't give me that.
Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Paris. I live at 9608 Aviation Boulevard, Los Angeles 90045. I've been the resident owner there with my family for 60 years. Actually, when I first came there was 2 pieces of property on Century Boulevard, a furniture store and another little business there. And we moved onto the property, and almost immediately we got into discussion about the airplanes. So we called up the councilman. His name was Timberlake. He's probably long gone now. Actually, he didn't do anything. Then we had Pat Russell. She was going to clean up the world. She did less than he did, actually. So then they said they couldn't get anybody to agree because the area there, as you said, was called Manchester Square, mostly made up of middle-class professional people. For instance, the property north of me was owned by an attorney with his wife and mother-in-law. To the south of me was another gentleman that owned 2 businesses in West Los Angeles with his brother. Behind me was another businessman. He and his wife owned 2 other properties, actually. So then we got into a big discussion about the problems with the airport. And they said, and we couldn't come to any conclusion, so they declared it a voluntary, I want you to hear this, voluntary means with your permission, a voluntary sale, not an iffy, eminent domain, and whatever you want to call it. Actually, so then what happened? Some people sold. I'll try to cut this down. Some people sold. Some people stayed, actually. And then come the problem with the vacant houses from the ones that sold. So what did they do to discourage the people that were still there? They tear the houses down, actually. So they tear the houses down, and some more people moved. That still didn't work. Then they went ahead and they had what they call the North Runway, which runs approximately from the county seat of Lenox there all the way to a very nice location called Ladera Heights, actually. And they still couldn't get the job done. So finally what they did, they had the North Runway there that I explained to you. They had the North Runway, and they use it for emergency landings and takeoffs, which was okay. Then in order to irritate you, they sat there and they started using it regularly for takeoffs and landings. So then another problem came up. They had a train that went by there, actually, night and day. So we talked about it, and he says, well, it was good for the commerce of the city. Fine. No problem. Then they turn around, and we had what we call this beautiful little nudie joint down on Aviation and Century, and they would be open all night on the weekends. They'd come into your track, open the car doors, turn on the radio, and dance out in the street. We couldn't find any way to stop the problem. So I went over to Governor DeMajor's office, who had a sub-office in Inglewood, and I talked to a couple of nice ladies there, and they said, we'll go out this weekend and we'll check it. And they went out there, and guess what? They called me 7:30 Monday morning and says, that's ridiculous. I said, I've been telling you that right along, actually. So then they sent us to the alcohol beverage department, and we closed the place down. They threw them out. They threw them off of the property and tore the building down, actually. And before that, when they were parking there, we try to find a way to stop it. So we try to create what they call eminent domain. I don't know all the legal terms. They called it. I guess that's what they called it, actually. And we put in no preferential parking. So we had a big battle with that deal, and we finally got preferential parking in, and that settled a lot of the problem. And while we were soliciting, trying to get signatures for this particular parking, I see my nice friend, the councilwoman there, actually, and she said, "Are you still trying to change everything?" And I says, "Yes, I am. I live here, actually. I like to live in an area where I can contribute to the area, not just sit there in my house, but contribute to the area." And she just laughed.
So, Mr. Paris, I'm going to give you another minute to close.
So then finally, I'm a little slow. I'm sorry. I'm 92 years old, you know.
Then just keep going.
I mean, I made an effort to come here, brother.
No, and that's why I'm giving you time. So just go on, prepare your clothes.
I appreciate it. You're a nice man. I'll remember you in my will. You won't get much, but I'll remember you. Anyway, we finally got the preferential parking in. But what broke the straw that broke the camel's back is when they start using the north runway for landoffs and taking. That's when we sued the city. We were in court 7 years, all the way to the appellate court. And we finally ended up downtown here, someplace I don't know exactly where the building was. And there was a nice judge there, and he let the airport talk for an hour. And he finally says, "Wait a minute, this is it. You destroy the people's area, and you think there's going to be no consequences. Well, you're wrong." And that's when he ruled in our favor. This is after they had made one bid to begin with, and then they made another bid later on. And our lawyer says, "Well, no use going to the Supreme Court. You might as well go ahead and accept the offer." And that's what we did. And now all of a sudden, in order to make a long story short, now they're ready to throw us out bodily out of the properties where my wife died in the house. Actually, my father died in the house. My two sons are almost senior citizens now. They graduated from a 98th Street school, a very nice, wonderful school. We try to get them to help us to save the school. No help at all. So we finally figured it out. The reason they don't give us any help, they don't want us there. That's where the problem was. We couldn't figure. Maybe we were a little dense.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, do we have members of the public that would like to speak on this issue? And then I may come back, Mr. Paris. Just stay there for 1 second. Let me get these other people. Who do I have? Mr. Walsh. Come up, Mr. Previn, Mr. Herman. Tell Mr. Paris to stay there for one, because I'm going to go back to him when I finish with these guys. Ask if he would. Yes, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. If you're an old white guy, you can talk as long as you want. But if you're black or brown...
Hold his time. It's his property. It's his house. He's the property owner, and he's given more time. You have 1 minute, Mr. Walsh. Go ahead.
Fine. A white property owner. Black and brown property owners, go fuck yourself. let me tell you, this has to do with cancerous growth. 37 properties. Remember, build, grow. Cancerous growth at the airport. It is sickening what's happening at this airport, and it's senile. I guess it's been picked up by the residents there. HollywoodHighlands.org. We have to stop the growth. Growth is evil in this city, and it's going to hurt black and brown people more than anyone else. You don't know why? Because I'm white, and I understand you're on the bottom.
Okay, Mr. Previn or Mr. Herman, whoever gets up there first.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. I appreciate Mr. Parrish coming down here and sharing his story. I think a lot of us did. It was very interesting to hear a little bit about the history of this story. And obviously, whenever a taking is happening, it's a little upsetting. And there are good reasons and bad reasons, and it gets complicated. In his story was how many public officials did not hear his cry until the nudies were dancing in the street, which was very interesting, and certainly Mr. Dukmajian's office. Just a very interesting piece of history. There are good reasons and there are bad reasons. This is near the airport, and I understood the parking, the rental car idea is probably a good one. But Mr. Cedillo, who was talking to somebody during a lobbyist for this whole time, is trying to have an office across from Figueroa to move his office across the street to take some property from an owner. I don't think that's as appropriate. So they're good and bad examples. This, I can't quite tell, but obviously he left you something in his will, so let's look forward to that. And thank you for coming down, sir.
Mr. Herman.
What a nice gentleman, an honorable man who respectfully protects his community, stays there no matter what the conditions are, because he believes in his advocacy. 60 years only off a 9608 aviation. Thank you, Mr. Parrish. But now in regards to how I take business on behalf of the people like yourself, to explain how fucked up white niggers they are to push you out of your community, and it shows and proves that the scope and the mentality of mental health by elected officials, scumbags, who don't take the respect of someone's complaints and concerns serious, and to allow you to live in these conditions at Manchester. On behalf of all of you listening, in public interest, fuck this council and fuck this city and your growth.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So what I want is, Madam Clerk, if you would put 2 minutes on the clock. Sergeants, let's go back to Mr. Parrish. Mr. Parrish, these we're giving you final 2 minutes. This is your property. I'm sensitive to that. I understand. So you had 2 minutes. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say, I know that, that's what I'm trying to say is we have some rights in this country. There were 16,000 people in World War II. 6 million were volunteers. My brother and I were both 17 years old when we went in the service, and we were overseas at 17. And we believed in our country and its principles. Now, they made one mistake. May I say this? I'm not a lawyer or anybody else. They could have gone ahead with the eminent domain without going through all this problem. No problem at all. They did that with 3-4 other areas. I know people that live there. They could have declared eminent domain and got it all over with, but they didn't. They declared it voluntary for about 30 years now. And now all of a sudden, we're wrong again. Now they want to kick us out. This is where all my memories and all my dreams are, and we fought for this thing. We went to court over this thing here, and they starting all over again. They never, ever, ever let up. That's what I'm trying to say. Where are our rights that I dreamed of as a young boy, 17 years old overseas? I'm a little disappointed, I'll be frank with you. And if you were in my shoes, you might be a little more tougher than I am about it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to tell you one thing.
Thank you,
last.
Mr. Pierce.
I didn't get anything done by Timberlake, Russell, and I'll tell you the truth, I don't even know who our councilman is. I've never seen him, heard from him, or anything else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, sir, for coming down. All right, members, are there any more questions from the body? Okay, I'm now going to close. Since there are no questions, we'll close the hearing. And Mr. City Attorney, is it appropriate at this point to just call for the vote?
Unless Ms. Bowers has any further remarks.
Okay. With that said, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Why don't we just go to the special agenda right now, Madam Clerk? So let's recess. Then we'll move to the special.
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson, 13 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, so let me call up Mr. Previn, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Herman. We're in special. This is item 40. Mr. Herman, you want to come up?
Mr. President, item 40 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, sir.
Okay, so without objection, that item is now before this body. Mr. Previn, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. It's Eric Previn from Studio City. This is an interesting item. This was the Dolby Theater was owned by the CRA LA, and now evidently the city under Mr. O'Farrell's leadership is purchasing it for $100,000. So obviously I'm missing something. I wrote a note to Gene Min and his office to sort of understand, because obviously, if I'm correct, the Dolby Theater is the former code. It's where we do the Oscars, is it not? So, the CRLA has been dissolved or is being dissolved, perhaps. You could check with Megan Moret, M-O-R-E-T. She served on sort of a handful of dissolution committees. She's a county, she works for Solis now. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if we're taking on this project, I asked Min, are there plans? Are we going to run it? Are we going to do like the Greek, where Parks and Rec runs the facility? I don't know. I guess we're just picking up $100,000. Who's getting $100,000? Mr. Fauble, does that interest you? No. Okay. Well, that was my question, and the public certainly appreciates
Thank you, Mr.
Dolby.
Walsh.
John Walsh, resident of Hollywood since 1976. The Dolby Theater is worth millions and millions of dollars. I'm asking the LA Times to get off their fat asses and find out why it's being sold for $100,000. This is at the Hollywood Highland Mega Mall. $100,000? The carpet is worth more than $100,000. You held a city council meeting at the Dolby Theater. You could eat off the floor at the Dolby Theater. This is more skullduggery concerning real estate in Hollywood, and no one gives a shit about it. All these people up here don't give one goddamn shit about this. Why is this theater being, who is selling it? What's the story? That's why you put it on a separate agenda, so it wouldn't circulate. You make me sick to my stomach, you
Mr.
scumbags.
Herman.
real property, real problems. But we should just ask for LLC to determine whether or not the Dolby Theater is worth that amount. Or should we, the public, challenge it because we, the people, are the Dolby Theater administrators at this point? And John Walsh is right. Bunch of scumbags snuffing out the Dolby Theater to give it away to special interests, like my dear friend Kanabi and Allen, Legal Service. Or maybe we should try the Krikorian LLC and ask about the Dolby Theater. It's relative to the expenditure of funds. Fool, shut the fuck up.
No, just stay on the subject.
Well, tell the, Mr. Chair, you run the floor
Stay
here.
on the subject. Mr. Herman, go on. You got 5 minutes, a second. Stay on the subject.
Okay, the last 5 seconds. Fuck
right.
you.
So let's vote on Mr. Krikorian.
Feel the need to apologize to the father and son who are sitting here listening to the obscenity and profanity that Mr. Herman spews every single day. And, sir, I apologize that here in this public meeting we have to listen to this, but this is required by the freedom of speech that the members of the public have here, and I apologize that you had this experience.
All right. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, let's adjourn and go back to the regular. Okay, let's see. I saw Mr. Previn. Okay, so Mr. Previn, you have 2 minutes and public comment. And you have items 33, 34, 41, public comment.
Thank you, sir. It's Eric Previn. What about item 31, without respectfully? That is an item that you can speak on, correct?
Mr.
Or no?
Previn, 33,
Connect LA
34,
again? Okay, it's been continued multiple
41.
times. Fine, 33.
Mr.
Sure,
Previn.
33, sir. Let's go. 33 is a nice little item. This one is a little outside counsel contract with Pepper Hamilton. I looked into it. It is for the Mei Ling matter. So this is obviously incredibly embarrassing because here I believe we have the access issues once again, and the numbers that have been flinging around, which I just don't know if they're accurate, are in the multiple hundreds of thousands, possibly approaching, hundreds of millions of dollars in liability for, sort of an extension of the Willits debacle, but for a slightly different piece. And we have $100,000 for Pepper Hamilton. I thought it was Covington who was doing something pro bono. I'm getting confused by all these outside counsel firms. And by the way, $1.7 million on the agenda today at item 39. Wowzer. This is for access-related
39 was already
issues.
voted on. It's not subject to public comment.
Mr. Previn.
I'm not going to fight with you, sir. I'm not going to fight with you.
No, just stay on the subject.
I'm not going to fight
no
with
need
you, sir.
To fight.
I refuse to engage. Thank you. Item number 34, David Rue is finally addressing the private school parking glut over at Buckley. We'll talk about Harvard Westlake in my public comment. Here he's accepting $15,000 to help. And I want to just say on behalf of Buckley residents in the area, people not on behalf of them, but to them, they've done a very good job of parking at Fashion Square, shuttling in 4 to a car for seniors only. People, they really respect that there's a neighborhood and a community. They're not proposing anything radical like a 495-foot, Mr. Cedillo, 495 feet is how long a home run out of Wrigley is, size parking structure. They're not proposing that at Buckley, Mr. Falbo, and you know that. You know they're not. They're doing a $15,000 contribution to Rue, who's going to assist, probably with white gloves like Mr. Krikorian did.
Okay, let's give him his...
My general public comment, sir? Thank you. I kind of peeked at it a little bit. Yesterday there was a hearing in Van Nuys. Save Coldwater came out, hundreds of people, probably 100 people from Harvard Westlake as well. They talked about what is something that is going to get a lot of attention, I can tell you that right now. They want to put a 300,000 square foot parking garage, okay? It's 495 feet long. That is 2/3 of the length of an aircraft carrier, sir. Mayor Garcetti likes aircraft carriers. It is so big. This thing, sir, has poles with lights on top. Now, to be fair to Krikorian, he has said it's a challenging issue for the community. But the community is challenging that it is a reasonable 85 times the amount of allowable dirt, Mr. Cedillo, coming out of the earth. You can do 1,600. What they're doing is 137,500 cubic yards, not tons, scratch that, cubic yards of dirt. They're going to drag it through Studio City in big trucks, and they're saying no traffic impact. So we're going to have to replace whoever did the transportation study.
Thank you. So if we could pull up Mr. Herman on my screen. Is this... Okay, Mr. Herman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 28, 29, 38, 32, 33, 34. Now he gets 2 minutes plus his general public comment. Go ahead.
Now that I'm talking about Mr. Krikorian, item number 33, adjustments regarding approval of outside counsel contract with the law firm of Harvey Englander, Knabe and Englander. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Pepper Hamilton. Fool, authorize a transfer of $100,000 because the fools of our council can't do the work of the people. And so we have to hire outside counsel to offset the balance of the settlements. That's real good shit, you know? And then I got Mr. Woo, $15,000 to address traffic issues. Well, I got an issue. Leave the motherfucker traffic alone because we enjoy driving in traffic. Then I go into item number 32. No one other than the chair, relative to amending Los Angeles Municipal Code LAMC to prohibit parking. Well, Mr. Chair, when I sleep in my car and I sit there thinking about all this bullshit in society, I really resent parking vehicles for private sales on streets because you know what? My car's there for sale too. And I have a right to sleep in my goddamn car and sit there and think about all the bullshit this city causes, emotional harm, emotional stress, and all the related fucking issues dealing with my health. Fucking rookie. So I do know I got the audacity to park my motherfucking car where I want to park it and sleep in it. Because I'm homeless since 2008, if you haven't heard, rookie. And as I told that Ridley Thomas black motherfucker white nigger politician over there, I need your help.
Give him his minute.
So you see, First Amendment, 14th Amendment, Constitutional Article 1, Section 2, you have a right to be heard in our house. You, the taxpayers, have that right. When you object and want to contest the actions of the or even the what? Harvey Englander, fuck them. Fuck all of them and their constitutional beliefs because those wetbacks don't believe in us. We the people, not the fuck fake news regarding the critic. Who? What? Wayne Spindler. So fuck the Sentinel, fuck LA Times, and fuck all you white niggers for making things up against people who come here to protest like I do. Fuck you too,
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Walsh, give me Mr. Walsh's items. Mr. Walsh, 1, 2, 32, 41, and your public comment. So he gets 2 minutes and then his 1 minute. Yes, sir.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. And for identification purposes only, chair of No Way, No Olympics. Okay, number one, this is where you, this is a lighting district. Again, when you do a good job, I say you do. I'm not one of those white people who say you're all a bunch of crooks. Old white people. You do a good job on lighting? I haven't had any trouble since we got rid of those carbon arc lights, which were the bane of my existence. That's 1, 2. And then you have number 6, Manchester Square. We already went through that. You just wiped out another neighborhood. And I will give you the 1 minute 3 seconds. I'll give that to you as a gift of silence. Number one, I'm asking you, Mr. Krikorian, if you don't like the language here, and this is like an R-rated movie, put a sign up out here. See, he doesn't even give a shit. Look, he's sucking this guy off over here. I'm saying put a sign up so that this parent knows when he comes in here that he's going to hear foul language, just as you would in a movie. I don't see this man stuffing his parents' ears. You seem to be worried. He doesn't give a syphilitic rat's ass about this child. All he wants to do is suck this guy off. And I'm telling you right now that the Olympics will not be held here. $250 million of cost overruns. Krikorian, he's zipping up the fly of this guy, and he's wiping the cum off his face. Explain that to your
All right, Mr. Walsh. Okay, that concludes multiple public comment. Now, there's some items that we can just move forward and vote on at this time. So, Madam Clerk, why don't we vote on items 1 through 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now let's move on to items 28, 29, 30, 32, 33, and 34. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Item 41, I move that we receive and file that item. I believe I'm getting a second from Mr. O'Farrell. So on that item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And what items are before this body at this time?
Council has general public comments or general public comments.
Okay, let me get John Jackson, Brian Barajas. Please come forward. Bach, somebody named Bach. Please come forward. Brian, you can come right on down.
Thank you. I turned in a leaflet. LaRouche, take up the historical challenge. I want to preface this as the attacks on Donald Trump is nothing but a Nazi coup d'etat in this federal government. The proof of it is very simple. Ever since Donald Trump initiated a peace call, which Kennedy and Ronald Reagan absolutely did, it was James Clapper, former DNI, who said that the intelligentsia was after Trump because he wanted peace with Russia, plain and simple. Now, the process unleashed is simple. LaRouche has called for peace and development with other countries, which Trump is initiating. The attacks on Donald Trump is nothing, as Ray McGovern from the Veterans Intelligence Professionals for Sanity has proven, that the DNC on the inside released those documents. It was not a Russian hack.
Thank you. Next speaker, please identify yourself.
I'm Bash Osman.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I want to say hi, everyone, and I think you're all doing a very good job. I moved here 5 years ago. I live in Hollywood, and I came to pursue my dreams of making film. I was lucky enough to get married, and a couple of years later, I went through some financial hardships, so my wife left me. I tried out Airbnb to be able to pay my rent, and it worked out really good for me. But to do so, I need to host more than 180 days a year. And I have guests from all over the world. They come to visit me and to experience Hollywood, Universal Studios, and do a lot of shopping. My guests are very respectful, and they always take great care of my home. Many of them are friends with me today, and most likely will visit me again. again, I want to thank you all for doing an extraordinary job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Do we have Mr. Jackson? Okay, I don't see that. That closes general public comment. Madam Clerk, what's before this body?
Council has motions for posting and referral, sir.
They are posted, they are referred. Announcements, members, announcements. If everyone in the council chambers would please rise. If everyone would please rise for adjourning motions. Everyone, please rise. So I'm looking to my right side. I don't see any adjourning motions to my right. I'm now looking to my left side. I don't see any adjourning motions. Members, this council meeting is adjourned.